So let's get started recording. I'm so excited. This is Write the Book Now, and we are live with my guest, Sharon Wyman. Listen at me. I know your last name. So glad to have him here tonight. Let me just tell you just a little bit about Sharon. He is a trauma recovery speaker, best-selling author of the book Let Go, The Movement Process, abuse survivor advocate for the National Association of Adult Survivors of Child Abuse. He is a certified life coach. He is an 8-year military Army airborne Ranger veteran and an 18-year law enforcement professional and trainer. His passion is inspiring, empowering, and equipping victims of trauma to take action towards creating a life-enhancing transformation. He is focused on making a worldwide impact, serving those who are dealing with or have faced direct and indirect trauma in their life. Leveraging his experience, Sharon helps others to heal, restore, and renew their life with calm confidence, safe strength, and pure motivation so that they can overcome their battles with trauma and move forward with their life. Sharon Wyman, welcome to Write the Book Now.
Dr. Sharon, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go with me to every conference from this point forward that I go to and do the introductions, because that was amazing. Thank you so much.
I so
look, I'm like smiling. If you're trying to get me happy, you did it. Because I'm like smiling, like, yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And I just wanted to share the book just very briefly before we get started. Let Go, The Movement Process. And as I said, he is Sharon Wyman. And I'm actually going to let him take a little time right now to tell you exactly who Sharon is in his own words. Sharon, take it away.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. Thank you for everybody that's watching live. And for those of you that watch the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay. And make sure you go to Sharon's link at Write the Book Now on Facebook and like that page. So much value being put out over there. And I know that you'll get much, much more value just by liking that page. So let's say a little bit about myself. I think Dr. Sharon just really hit the home run. There's really not a whole lot more I can say except for the fact that I'm genuinely passionate about serving people. And, after going through the different challenges and adversities that I went through in my life, making the mistakes that I made in my life, learning and growing from those mistakes, and then being able to move forward and serve other people, that has truly been an amazing, amazing blessing in my life. And, I'm just praying that is what this opportunity is for as well, to bless somebody that needs to hear something that we're going to share tonight. So thank you again, Dr. Sharon. I'm so excited to be a part of this show. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Sharon, we are going to dive right in, because I tell you, this is a page turner. And, I have interviewed so many different authors. And it's one thing that I love is my nonfiction authors. And this story really is your life. Let Go, The Movement Process. And we were just talking before we go on air, your new cover really says, let go, let God. And that's one thing that ever since I've known you, that's the first thing that really stood out about you is your faith in God. So before we even get started, I want you to talk a little bit about that, because I never forget, I was on your show.
Yes, you were.
Yes,
you were. It was almost a year ago to the date, as a matter of fact.
And you, there was music playing that each person get, and so I gave you my music. And you was like, "Okay, is that?" You said, "Is that Christian?" And I loved it. I said, "Yes, it is. Your faith is strong and it is unwavering." Talk to us a little bit about that, Sharon.
Well, first, let me just be completely transparent and let you know that was not always the case. I was in a place in my life where I was very broken for a long time. But, you get to a point where you can only fight with God for so long before you have to make a decision. Either you break away and you just don't fight, you just ignore God and you just try to live your life the best you can, or you submit to God and you surrender to God and you say, you know what? My way is not working. And there's got to be a reason for that. And I just believed in all my heart and soul, especially after I wrote this book, that God's hand was on it. And from that moment forward, I began to do everything I could to truly not just say I was Christian, not just act like I was Christian, but truly walk the walk. And I did that in a lot of different ways. One of them was reading the entire Bible from cover to cover, focusing on prayer and devotional time every single day, and focusing every day on becoming more disciplined and more spiritually aware of the different things that were going on in my life, recognizing when there was spiritual warfare going on, which I didn't realize that for a long time. And then, recognizing when God was speaking to me and how God was speaking to me. And this has been an amazing, amazing journey of faith and walking in that faith. And it's a continuous journey. That's what I love about it, is that it's not like one day you just get it and you're just ultimately faithful. Unfortunately, but fortunately, we are human. We are sinners in nature, and we have to, force ourselves to walk that walk every single day and discipline ourselves, just like a soldier, just like a police officer, just like a parent. I mean, you have to instill these different types of behaviors and mechanisms inside of yourself. And that's really what I've been focusing on, Dr. Sharon. So it means the world to me when you say you see my faith, because that's what I want. I want people to see that I'm the real deal, that I'm not out there trying to pretend to be something I'm not. I tried that. It did not work. I learned very quickly, be true, be you, and that's it. Don't focus on being anybody else, because you are special. You were created for a purpose. And the more that I follow that path, the greater my life gets.
I love that. I really do. And so that really starts us off with the beginning of your book, Let Go, the movement process. And so right off from the beginning, you actually start from your childhood.
Yes.
Since the day I was born is what you titled chapter 1.
Yep.
And so, you talk about your beginning in Clearwater, Florida. Then you go on until where your mom found this wonderful, and I put that in quotes, new love, and brought you actually to where I am now in the Washington, D.C. area, actually specifically in Prince George's County, Maryland. And what you guys thought was a dream really turned out to be a nightmare.
Yes, ma'am.
So you talk about that. And one of the things that I want to read is just this one quote from that first chapter that was just very eye-opening. You said, I discovered through my life that moved me to share my story to help you through your adversity. And you talk about that in your bio, how now your life being is to help people through their trauma, through their adversity. You experienced that early on in life. So your loving mother, and one of the things that I also love about that, Sean, is for a time you thought your mother didn't care and didn't want you, but actually in the end, you really realized she did everything for you and for what was best for you.
Yes. I mean, simply put, the devil's perception is not God's reality.
Wow.
But the devil's perception is a very manipulative thing. And because I was so young and not understanding everything that had happened and not having the sound mind and judgment to understand what happened because of my age, I was led to believe that my mom abandoned me. And for years, I walked around with anger and resentment that I didn't have to walk with. That's the worst part about it. Now that I think about it, you just made me kind of think about that. But I didn't have to walk with that. But because I was manipulated into believing, and I truly believed that with all my heart and soul, that my mom, I was so angry at my mom for a long, long time. And that made me angry at everybody else, because, when you have anger in your heart, no matter how hard you try to love other people, if you have that anger in your heart, it's really hard to love other people because they see what's inside of you. And in order for you to love someone, they really need to see that love inside of you. And I didn't have that. I didn't feel that. I felt anger. I felt resentment. I felt denial. I felt anxiety. I felt misery. I felt a lot of things, but I definitely didn't feel love. And what I recognized was that years later, like 30, I mean, when you and I did our interview, that was when the aha moment was really kicking in. And it was like almost like God just kind of like just gave you this slap, right? It's like, wake up. Wake up. It's time to grow up. It's time to wake up. It's time to recognize that perception is not reality. The truth is, your mother saved your life. If it wasn't for your mother, you probably wouldn't have written a book. You probably wouldn't even be walking on this earth today. And when I realized that, it changed my whole perspective, because I realized that I walked a 30-year walk of anger and hate, and I didn't have to. And so I started thinking about that, and I said, you know what? How many more people has the devil manipulated? How many more souls has the devil stolen? And they don't even realize they're stolen, because they're masked with the perception of the devil's perception, and they're missing out on what God's true reality is for them. And when I discovered that, that's when my life truly changed, and I began to realize that that was my purpose. And it was almost like God said, yes, that's your purpose. You went through everything. Everything I wrote in that book was for a purpose. Everything was for a reason. Everything, all the way up to the point of where you are sitting right now on Dr. Sharon's show, talking to this audience who some of you may have never met before, but I am going to speak through you, and we're going to impact somebody through your story, through my glory. And it's that simple, that once I had that aha moment, it was like, all right, God, I give it all to you. I give everything to you. I submit everything. I will do whatever you tell me to do, no matter how scary it is, no matter how crazy it is. I'm in. I'm 100, I mean, truly 100% all in. And when I went all in, that's when I committed to reading the Bible. That's when I committed. And not only did I commit, but I took the action and I followed through with what I committed to. And that's when I began to see really what God could do in my life. And that is why I'm now every day seeing it more and more and more. And it's such an amazing experience.
That's awesome, I tell you. And you know, when you all drove from New Mexico to Washington, D.C., to this area, Sea Pleasant, ended up in Sea Pleasant, you talk about, you really talk about how you experience racism. For those who are listening who don't know, Prince George's County is a predominantly African-American community, suburb outside of Washington, D.C. And you were here many, many years ago, when the area wasn't even as developed and beautiful as it is now.
Right.
So, you know, and you talk about in your book how you wandered in the streets of Washington, D.C. for 3 days alone as a child.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And so
the murder capital of the world at that time.
Exactly. And like I said, it's people come to the city now and it's gorgeous and beautiful and everything, but not so all of those years ago. Drug-ridden, just everything. And so really thinking about that time way back when, because there is some little child, as progressive as we've become in this area, there is still someone feeling just like you felt back then all those many years ago. What would you say to that person, that little boy, whomever it is? And although you felt that, and I would say reverse racism, because like I said, it was predominantly African-American, just like it is now. You were poor. You said your parents you wore the same thing over and over. You were picked on, broken nose. I mean, you went through it all.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you say to that little elementary child that's probably maybe sitting in Sea Pleasant right now, going through something very similar?
You know, well, first, I think it's important to address the racism thing, because we always hear about racism from one side, right? And I always ask myself, is there such a thing as reverse racism? is what happened to me, was that a form of racism? I mean, I was made fun of for the color of my skin. I was made fun of because my stepfather was black and my mom was white, which, back then, that was that was like, oh no, from both sides, from the Caucasian side and the African American communities. It was like, no, 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 we don't mix, right? We don't blend. So we were eyesores in the neighborhood, and it was a target rich environment for me every single day. So I think, man, there's so many things I would want to say. That first, I just want to give that kid a hug and be like, man, it's okay, you will get through it. But I'm going to reach out and I think about what my friend and business partner Kevin Warren says, and he says the one thing that every person needs as young as they can possibly get it is love. And so I would do everything I could to tell that child that they are loved, even if they don't feel like they're loved, even if they are going through anguishing times where people are making fun of them, they're being abused, they're mentally, physically, psychologically, they're going through adverse experiences. No matter what, I would do everything I possibly could to let them know that there is always a father out there that loves you and is always seeking you out. And I would do everything I could to try to help them to understand, so that I can teach them to love themselves, identify who they really are, help them to create a foundation young in their life instead of having to wait till 30, 40 years for that aha moment like I did. And then provide them the encouragement that they need in order to truly be able to walk that walk, to walk that walk of, I'm loved, I know who I am, I now have my feet on solid ground, and I'm encouraged to move forward with my life. So that's really what I would want to focus on, is helping that child to understand that they're loved. And even if they don't feel loved, I get it. There were times I didn't feel loved either, but we are all loved if we choose to be. I mean, there is a Father that is all loving and will give us anything that we ask for. We just have to ask for it. And so I would do everything in my power to try to help that child to identify with those things and help them to focus on those things. And I wouldn't have just one conversation with that child. I would want to spend time with that child. I would want to mentor that child. I would want to work with that child in order to help them to truly, identify that love within themselves. And then, again, create that, that identity, that personal identity where you're like, you can say whatever you want to me, but I know who I am. There's nothing you can say that will ever change who I am, how special I am, or that I have a unique purpose. Just like you have your purpose in life, I have my unique purpose in life. And when you have that kind of empowerment, you have that kind of foundation, and you can stand on that fertile ground. And now you have, you surround yourself with people that encourage you. That's what, to me, that's what that child would need.
Absolutely. So we're going to go on to actually the meat, what I would say the meat of the book is chapter 4, the movement process. And you say, I got to put on my specs here, but you say that it's an acronym, and it stands for mindset, opportunity, vision, empowerment, momentum, education, navigation, and transformation.
Yes.
That is powerful. And the best thing about it, as you said, you can go to it in order, or you can jump in where you fit in.
That's it. That's it.
I love that. Talk to us a little bit about this process.
Man, when I first was really working this in my head, and God, was really working through me as I wrote this book. I mean, there's times I don't even remember writing that, and like, you're just writing and you're just in the zone. And this as an author, and you work with authors, you get in that zone and you're just hammering it out. And then you look and you're like, I wrote that? That's, wow, that's amazing. And so the movement process was something that, I was trying to figure out. I was like, how do I explain? Because, a lot of people ask me, they're like, you mean to tell me you didn't go through any addiction programs? No. You mean to tell me you didn't go see any psychologists? No. You mean to tell me you didn't get any psychotherapy treatment? No. You mean you didn't go meet with any behavioral analysts or any of those types of people? No. So you're telling me that just one day you're reading your Bible in a retreat and you get this aha moment, and from that moment your life begins to change, and you quit drinking, you quit smoking, you quit blaming everybody else for what you needed to hold yourself responsible for, and you just got it. You mean to tell me you just got it? And the answer is yes. And then they go, how? It just doesn't make sense. And I go, well, number one, I had a mindset shift. I went from feeling sorry for myself and blaming everybody else for my problems to accepting that I had to be part of the problem. And I was, because I created the problem subconsciously, not knowingly necessarily, but I created the problem by trying to hide the fact that I was abused, hide the fact that I was bullied, hide all of these things. And, I have friends still today that I grew up with that will validate a lot of the things that we talk about in this book. And it was when I had that mindset shift that's when I began to see opportunities that I'd never seen before. But Dr. Sharon, guess what? They were always there. Those opportunities were always there. But because I wasn't in the right mindset, I couldn't see them. And seeing is all about vision, right? When you can see, now you have vision, not only for what's like right in front of you, but actually what's on the horizon, and more importantly, what's beyond the horizon, what's out there that's waiting for you that you don't even know about, but through faith, you know that there's something bigger and better out there for you. When you get that kind of vision, you can't help but become empowered. And when you learn how to move with the right mindset, where you create the right opportunities, get a clear vision, and become empowered, now you just build this massive momentum for movement. And momentum is movement in action. It means you are in motion, in action. Now, how do you keep it? And that was the second part of this. All right, I figured out the part about how I move. Now, how do I keep it? And that's where the other end of movement came from. The momentum, you got to keep the momentum. How do you do it? Number one, education, school, absolutely. And whatever that looks like for that individual person. But more importantly, investment in yourself, personal investment in yourself, mentally, physically, psychologically, and most importantly, spiritually, to identify who you really are, what your real purpose is, and what you're about. Most importantly, identify the value in you so you can now identify how to serve that value to other people. Once you get that education, now you're on the navigation mode, because you got to go, okay, I got all this knowledge, I got this value. Where's my start point? Where's my end point? What do I do when the obstacles come? Self-doubt, fear, manipulation, the naysayers, the haters. What do I do when those situations come? How do I deal with those things? And then most importantly is the transformation. And the beautiful part about the transformation, Dr. Sharon, the transformation automatically happens. When you have the right mindset and you begin to see the right opportunities and you have a clear vision and you become empowered and you begin to create momentum and you get educated and you create the value in yourself. And once you create that value, you now know your course of action to stay on the right path no matter what obstacle gets in front of you. You can't help but not transform. You can't help but not transform. So that's where the movement process comes in.
I love that. And as an 18-year law enforcement person, how has that affected you or impacted your ability to enforce the law, knowing all of your experiences?
Man, I'm going to break here. I want to be completely transparent. I've been doing this job 18 years. When I got started in law enforcement, we learned a lot about fighting. We learned a lot about shooting. We learned a lot about, being in control of situations and not allowing anybody to get the upper hand and always being ahead of the game. And, even talking down to people, that's what it took to get them to submit to the law, to submit to, whatever that situation was, that you're in charge. And when you're there, they don't talk back. They don't open their mouth. They don't, you're there now because they weren't able to to take care of it themselves. So now you're there. That was the philosophy when I started. What I realized as I've matured and as I have grown in my faith and as I have continued to dedicate myself to doing this job, I began to look back and reflect, and I thought about all the police officers that have lost their lives in the line of duty, all the police officers that have committed suicide, all of the use of force reports across the country, which, by the way, is less than 1%. But still, 1% is still a lot, right? I mean, because if we're having to use force, there's a problem. There's a communication issue. There's barriers. There's all kinds of things that still need to be addressed and still need to be fixed. So understanding all of that and recognizing that, now we add the movement process in. Now I start getting educated on trauma and how trauma impacts people at a very, very young age, and how trauma played a big part and a big role in how I started out my life and lived my life for the first 30 to 40 years. It's had a huge difference on the way I police, because now I'm not only the first line of defense, I'm also the first line of healing. Because I recognize that the interaction that I have with somebody can be positive, and it can help them to maybe start their healing process no matter what trauma they've gone through, or I can actually trigger something and make something worse and make them go down a deeper, darker road where they may not come out of it. And once you know something, you just can't unknow it, right? And that's the situation now, is like, all right, I know there's a better way. Now I can't unknow that. Now that I know that, I've got to do something about that. So that's where I'm at now, is every day when I go out there and I'm working, I'm not just looking at people and judging them. I'm actually, trying to create dialogues and establish rapport and again, lead with calm confidence, safe strength, and pure motivation with no ulterior motives. Genuinely, look, forget the uniform, forget the badge, forget all the tools on my belt. I'm a human. You're a human. I genuinely care about you, and I want to know what happened to you. What happened to you that led you to be on the street today feeling like this is your only option left to sell your soul, to sell your body on the street? What is it? What happened to you that led you to believe that this is the only place for you to be selling drugs, because that is the only means that you can live? What happened to you? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. What happened to you that you felt like you needed today to raise the hand and beat your child? What happened to you? Because when you get to the root, when you don't focus on the immediate problem and you focus on the root, the backstory of what happened to that person that led them to that moment, that's when true healing begins. And so that's how all of this has impacted me in law enforcement.
I love your passion, first of all. I absolutely love it. And, it really speaks to then the next part of your book. It's really the keep moving forward part, the time to create the movement. And that's really what it's all about. And I know that's really what you say, keep moving forward. How can one continue to move forward? They've taken what you have. They've come through the trials. They've made it out of whatever adversity that they have. But yet again, we always know obstacles are going to always come. Maybe not as hard as it's been, but things come.
Yeah.
How can one keep moving forward?
Well, number one, in order to move forward, you got to take a step. Even if it's a little step. Even if it's not even a step. Even if it's just a slide, right? Even if your foot just slides just a little bit, you got to take a step. And once you take that step, you got to take the next step. And I know it sounds like, really, Sean, that's the key to the universe, but it really is that simple. In order to move forward, you have to take a step. And then you have to take another and another. Now, the challenge is everybody says, I want to take that step. I'm ready. And then guess what? They don't do it. They don't take the time. We have time, talent, and treasure. And most people don't even use one of the three, let alone really maximizing all three of those things together. Imagine if you maximize your time, your talent, and your treasure, and every day you just took one step, whether that was one more page in your Bible or one more course that you were working on, or one more person that you smiled at, or I mean, it could be anything. That's what's so beautiful about this, and that's why it's so universal, is the fact that it can be anything for anyone. It just depends on that individual person and the needs of that individual person. But you can want all you want, but until you're willing to take action, legitimate action, that's what it takes. It takes action. And unfortunately, I had, if I may, I'll share a story with you from today. I have a woman, I'm on a call. I have a woman that calls us and says, my ex-husband, he beat me for so many years. He molested my daughter. We're in this lawsuit now. My son's 8 years old, and he has visitation with his son. And yesterday I went to go pick up my son. We got in this violent argument. He threw a log at my car. He calls me on the phone. He threatens to shoot me and shoot my son, right? And then the next thing out of her mouth, I ask her, I go, well, have you considered changing your phone number? And she goes, yeah, but it's so hard. And I immediately had to go to that mode. I had to say, listen, I believe in communicating honestly, openly, respectfully, and directly with you. Can I do that with you? Will you give me permission? You see, because when people give you permission, they open that door to allow you to be honest with them, and they're open to it. So that's what I did. I got her to open that door, and I said, stop being lazy. And she looked at me like she was shocked, because a police officer just looked her in the face and told her. And I said, look, this is so much bigger than you. It's not about those phone numbers in your phone. It's about the life of your children. Preparation leads to preservation, right? But if you don't prepare, if you sit there and go, if I change my phone number, he won't be able to call me. He won't be able to harass me. He won't be able to. But if you sit there and go, I'm so tired of this, but yet I keep letting it happen because I'm lazy and I don't want to change my phone number, because I actually got to take a day of my life to take those phone numbers out of my phone, put them on the cloud or somewhere where I can go back to a database and retrieve them once I get a new phone number. And so, that's an example that I use to say we have to be willing to take action. That woman wants that man out of her life. That woman wants to be healed, restored, and renewed, yet she won't take the first step just by simply changing her phone number. So in order to move, you got to take the first step, Dr. Sharon.
I love it, Shawn Wyman. I love it, love it, love it. Oh my goodness. So what else is coming up for you? I know you are speaking all over this great country. You have several things coming up. What would you like to share with this audience?
Oh man, God is so good. I'm speaking at a lot of local events, but I'm actually going to be speaking at one of the largest trauma-informed care conferences in the state of Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, in September. Very excited. I'll be in Panama City, Florida. And so just a lot of really cool things. The partnerships that I'm working on and developing right now, that are going to create some of just focusing on making a genuine impact in the world, Dr. Sharon. That's the best way I can explain it. I told you before the show, one of my goals is to change the culture of law enforcement. And how do you change the culture of something? You have to go to the root of it, and not, it's not that we are bad, right? Police officers are not bad people. No matter what you hear through the news and the media, I'm here to tell you, man, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a baseball coach for my son. We do Little League together. I travel around the country talking and working with people and helping people through their trauma. And there are many, many more out there like me. I'm not the only one. However, you don't hear this side. You only hear the negative side, because that's what really creates the news, as you say, that they want to get out there. So understand that law enforcement are people too, right? And I want to get out there. I actually want to change the culture of law enforcement to bridge the gap between law enforcement and their communities and actually make them stronger and more fortified. And by doing that, It creates a longevity of life for law enforcement officers, a higher quality of life, and the communities they serve. And the biggest one, reducing, I don't think you can ever 100% say eliminate, but continuing to reduce the amount of force that may or may not be necessary depending on the circumstances. If a police officer is trained and trauma informed and understands that, hey, you know what? This person is angry, but they're not angry at me. I'm safe. They're safe. You know what? Let them speak their mind. Let them yell. Let them vent it out. Let them get it out of their system. And we're going to work through this, right? I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to stay safe. And most importantly, I'm going to stay pure in my motivations. I'm not going to walk in here with ulterior motives. I'm going to be a genuine human being before the uniform. Before the uniform, I'm a human. The uniform is just part of my attire because that's what I wear when I'm doing my job. But when we recognize that we are people, serve people, and that there are people hurting, and that 90% of our job is social work, it is psychology, it is parenting, it is counseling, it is all of these things that most law enforcement officers do not have degrees in. I do not have a degree in clinical social work. I do not have a degree in psychology. I do not have a degree or a doctorate in education or any of those things. But you know what? I understand that there are needs in all of these systems. And if we go and we start to focus on each of these and we start to unify as not just as a country, but as a world, unification is how we survive. If we stay divided, we're going to get conquered. It's just a matter of time. Division leads to conquer. You look at every major war, you look at every major conflict, both here and abroad, the losses came from division. The wins came from unification. So united we stand, divided we fall. That still holds true today. So one of the biggest things is changing the culture of law enforcement. The next thing I want to do, and again, working on some really amazing things, is find a way to reach these kids earlier in life. They shouldn't have to wait until they're 40 years old. And we're finding out now through scientific studies that the average age that a person decides they're going to start dealing with their adverse childhood experiences is in their early 40s. Why? Lack of education, lack of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. If we can bring knowledge, wisdom, and understanding and bring a trauma-informed care approach to these communities, to these organizations, to these structural foundations, I believe we can change lives and we can impact the future. And so that's what I'm working on. That's what we're focused on.
That's awesome. I tell you, it is just so inspiring to hear that, because we definitely know that we need to do something about the relationships with law enforcement and the general public. So much needed. So I say congratulations to you for all that you've accomplished and all that you will accomplish in all your future endeavors. So congratulations, Shawn Wyman.
Thank you, Dr. Sharon. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we cannot get off without really giving our thanks to Authors in Business, our AIB Nation and Desiree.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is how we connected. And so definitely want to give her that shout out. And AIB Nation, we are here.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so, guys, again, the book is Let Go, The Movement Process. It is Shawn Wyman. And Shawn is going to tell us where you can find his book, where you can connect with him on social media, and how you can connect with him if you would like for him to come speak to your organization.
Absolutely. So the book is on Amazon. You can go to themovementprocess.com and that will take you right to the Amazon link where you can get your copy of the book. Social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, Twitter. Those are the key social media sites. You can reach me on any of those, whichever one you're most comfortable reaching out on. And if you would like me to or would like to have a conversation about speaking at an event in the future, or book me for a workshop or whatever it is that you got coming up, I would love to have that conversation. You can go to ShawnWyman.com and set up a time for us to meet there.
Excellent. And before we get off, this is Write the Book Now. What was your deciding factor in writing the book now?
Oh man, I just had to submit. So I was doing my radio show that you were on at the time, and there was a woman that I interviewed named Dr. Loretta Pierce. Amazing, amazing woman. And her and I had some similar situations from our past, and we were sharing, and I shared my story with her. And I had a lot of people that kept telling me, oh, you need to write the book, and hearing those thoughts in my head, thinking about it, and then fighting it off. No, nobody's gonna want to read that. Nobody. And it was Dr. Loretta Pierce who said, and I believe God spoke through her. She basically said, write the book now. You got 21 days. I want you to meet me. And I believe it was Pensacola, Florida, where I was supposed to meet her. I never actually got to meet her, but the book got done. And that was the main thing. 21 days. This book was done in 21 days. Not just written, formatted, edited, covered, and published, thanks to the beautiful Desiree Lee and AIB Nation. All those things were done in 21 days. 21 days. That's how God can move really quickly if he wants to. Wow. So that was it. It was write the book now. And it was like, yeah, that was it. That was God truly speaking to me. And I gave in at that point. I said, all right, God, I trust you. You're telling me to write this book. I'm going to write this book. And I did. At first I was like a lot of people skeptical about, man, am I going to be able to really get this out there? But what I found out was when I hit my finger on the keyboard and then hit it again, what'd I say? What's the first step to movement? One step, one click of a keyboard, then another, then all of a sudden these fingers just, and before you know it, let go, the movement process was born. And I'm really excited about where we're going to take it, and many more books to come. So stay tuned. More great stuff.
I cannot wait. Oh my goodness, guys! And again, my guest tonight has been Shawn Wyman. His book is "Let Go: The Movement Process." Go on over to Amazon, get your copy. You will not be sorry, I tell you. And also, it makes a wonderful gift as well. So definitely check him out. We appreciate you taking your time out your busy schedule to be with us on Write the Book Now. So thank you, Shawn.
Thank you, Dr. Sharon, and thank your audience. Thank you, audience, for just an amazing opportunity to be able to speak to you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out either through Dr. Sharon or directly to me. I would love to speak with you.
Awesome. And guys, thank you for joining us. And also those of you who are going to catch the replay. Again, I am Dr. Sharon, educator, author, entrepreneur, and creator of Write the Book Now. And as always, I remind you, if there's a story inside of you, don't wait. Write the book now.